In the early hours of March 8, 2014, a modern passenger jet carrying 239 people vanished from the face of the Earth. No distress call. No mayday. No wreckage. No clear explanation. What happened to Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370 remains the greatest mystery in aviation history. This is not just the story of a missing plane. It is the story of unanswered questions, shattered families, and a mystery that still haunts the world. Flight MH370 was scheduled to travel from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing, a routine overnight journey, expected to last just under 6 hours. On board were 227 passengers and 12 crew members, including families, business travelers, and children. The aircraft was a Boeing 777, one of the safest, most reliable planes ever built. It had completed thousands of successful flights without serious incident. That night, nothing seemed unusual. The weather was clear. The flight plan was normal. The aircraft took off smoothly at 12:41 a.m. At 1:19 a.m., the pilot made his final radio transmission. "Good night, Malaysian 370. 2 minutes later, the aircraft's transponder stopped transmitting. Flight MH370 had disappeared from civilian radar. At first, air traffic controllers assumed it was a simple technical issue, perhaps a malfunctioning transponder. But as minutes turned into hours, concern grew. The plane did not appear on Chinese radar. It did not respond to radio calls. It had vanished without explanation. Then, something shocking emerged. Military radar systems detected an unidentified aircraft turning sharply west, away from its intended route to Beijing. That aircraft crossed back over the Malaysian peninsula, flew across the Strait of Malacca, and continued into the vast emptiness of the Indian Ocean. That aircraft was Flight MH370. This discovery changed everything. The plane had not crashed immediately. It had not exploded mid-air. It had turned deliberately and flown for hours. But why? Satellite data later revealed that the aircraft remained airborne for nearly 7 hours after losing contact. During that time, it exchanged automated, handshake, signals with a satellite network, silent pings that confirmed the plane was still flying, still powered, and still moving. These signals did not reveal the plane's exact location, only that it was somewhere along 2 possible arcs, one stretching north into Central Asia, and another stretching south into the Indian Ocean. Investigators quickly ruled out the northern route. All evidence pointed south, toward one of the most remote, inhospitable regions on Earth. What followed was the largest and most expensive search operation in aviation history. Dozens of countries joined the effort. Warships, aircraft, submarines, and satellites were deployed. Millions of square kilometers of ocean were scanned. At first, search teams focused on the South China Sea. When nothing was found, they shifted to the Andaman Sea. When that failed, the focus moved even farther, to the southern Indian Ocean, thousands of kilometers west of Australia. This region is one of the most remote places on Earth, with towering waves, violent storms, and an ocean floor that plunges deeper than Mount Everest is tall. Day after day, week after week, month after month, no wreckage was found. As the search dragged on, families of the passengers grew desperate. They demanded answers. They demanded transparency. They demanded the truth. But there were no answers to give. No crash site. No flight recorder. No cockpit voice recorder. No definitive cause. Just silence. Then, more than a year later, a breakthrough came, not from satellites or submarines, but from the sea itself. In July 2015, a large piece of aircraft debris washed ashore on Réunion Island, in the western Indian Ocean, thousands of kilometers from the original search zone. It was part of a wing, a flaperon. After extensive testing, it was confirmed, the debris belonged to Flight MH370. For the first time, the world had physical proof of the aircraft's fate. Over the next several years, more pieces of wreckage were discovered along the coasts of Mozambique, Madagascar, Tanzania, and South Africa. Each fragment confirmed the same devastating truth. Flight MH370 had crashed into the Indian Ocean. But how, and why, remained a mystery. With no black boxes and no main wreckage, investigators were forced to rely on fragments, satellite data, and circumstantial evidence. This opened the door to countless theories. Some suggested a catastrophic mechanical failure, a fire, a loss of cabin pressure, or an electrical malfunction that disabled communications and incapacitated the crew. Others believed the plane experienced hypoxia, a lack of oxygen, causing everyone on board to lose consciousness, leaving the aircraft flying on autopilot until it ran out of fuel. But these theories failed to explain one critical detail: the plane's deliberate change in course. Someone had to turn it. This led investigators to examine the crew, particularly the captain, Zahari Ahmad Shah, a highly experienced pilot with over 18,000 flight hours. A flight simulator recovered from his home revealed simulated routes similar to MH370's final flight path, including a long journey into the southern Indian Ocean. To some, this was evidence of intentional action. To others, it was coincidence, a pilot exploring flight scenarios as part of training or personal interest. No suicide note was found. No distress signal was sent. No motive was proven. The pilot theory remains controversial and unresolved. Other theories emerged. Some suggested a hijacking or act of terrorism, despite no group claiming responsibility and no political motive being established. Others proposed a cyber attack, that the plane's systems were hacked or manipulated remotely. Some even speculated about military involvement, secret cargo, or covert operations. But none of these theories were supported by solid evidence. Each raised more questions than answers. What investigators do agree on is the plane's final moments. Based on satellite data and ocean drift modeling, experts believe MH370 eventually ran out of fuel and descended rapidly into the southern Indian Ocean. Some believe the aircraft may have entered a steep, uncontrolled dive, possibly breaking apart upon impact. Others believe it descended gradually before crashing into the water. But without the wreckage, the exact scenario remains unknown. Years later, new search efforts were launched using advanced underwater drones and mapping technology. Private companies joined the hunt. Once again, hope rose, only to fade. No main wreckage was found. No black boxes were recovered. No final answers emerged. For the families of the 239 people on board, time has not healed the pain. They live without bodies to bury. Without final words. Without certainty. Every unanswered question is a wound that never closes. Flight MH370 remains the greatest unsolved mystery in aviation history, not because a plane crashed, but because it vanished without explanation in the age of satellites, radar, and global surveillance. In a world where nearly everything is tracked, recorded, and documented, one aircraft simply disappeared. And until the wreckage is found, until the black boxes are recovered, the truth about Flight MH370 will remain hidden beneath the depths of the ocean. A mystery locked in silence. A story unfinished.